صدق الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو المتوحد بالجلال بكمال الجمال تعظيما وتكبيرا، المتفرد بتصريف الأحوال على التفصيل والإجمال تقديرا وتدبيرا، المتعالي بعظمته ومجده.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده، وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتداهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. We give all praises and thanks to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the Alamin. And we ask Him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to count us among those of His slaves who are small among the Ummah. That is, those who always remember of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters in Iman and humanity, I welcome all of you with Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon you all. Our talk topic this morning is journey of marriage. Inshallah, we will be saying something small about marriage. Marriage, as we all know, is one of the teachings of Islam. Marriage is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the Muslim Ummah to do. So before I get into the topic, I want my brothers and sisters in Iman to take this. We as Islamic speakers, we do not speak as actors do to please. We do not speak as advocates do to persuade. We Islamic speakers, we do not speak as historians do to relate the past, but we speak to correct, to inform, to warn, and to give glad tidings. So these are the main things that I want you to be expecting from my talk. Brothers and sisters in Iman, marriage in Islam is considered as a major pillar. It is considered in Islam as an institution. Before a Muslim is called a Muslim, there are certain things you have to accept in your life, the 5 pillars of Islam. And each pillar of Islam, you have to have a full knowledge of it before you can be called a Muslim or Muslimah. So same thing applies to marriage. As a Muslim, before you go into marriage, it is much important for you to know what marriage is about, what is expected from both parties, man and woman. It is important for you to know this. As a Muslim, it is important for you to always ask scholars of Islam about marriage before you get yourself into marriage. Why a Muslim asks about marriage before getting into marriage, Islam, as we said, considered marriage as a strong pillar. Because from marriage, that children will come, and these children are going to represent Islam. So it is important for both men and women to know what marriage is about before you get yourself involved. And we are told in the Quran, in Surah Al-Ra'd, Quran chapter 13, verse 38, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that before the coming of him, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, prophets and messengers have come already. And each of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them wives. In manner, Allah ordered them to marry. That is why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَرْبَعٌ مِنْ سُنَنِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. The four things are from the tradition of all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One, hinnahu. In other narration, hiyahu. Bima'na shyness. Two, perfume. Three, siwak. And four, nikah, marriage. So if these four things are from the tradition of all the prophets, what I want from this is the last one, nikah, marriage. And we as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said all our lives we should imitate what the prophets who came before us, what they did. This is what we, the current Muslim Ummah, are supposed to be doing. We have to imitate them. They serve as role models for us. So marriage in Islam, it is one of the sunnah of all the prophets, including our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you are going into it, it is important for you to know the rules and regulations governing marriage. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he married and he had children. Who did the Prophet marry? Very important questions. So an answer or answers to this question will guide you to live your life happy. Remember that marriage is lifetime investment. And if you fail in marriage, you have failed in every aspect of your life. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Min sa'adat ibn Adam thalatha." That what made the son of Adam happy, comfortable in life, are three things. He started by saying, marital salihah, a righteous woman. And to our female counterparts, a righteous man. So if you want to be comfortable in life, you should make sure that you have a righteous partner in your life. You have to. So every Muslim, before you go into marriage, it is important to ask yourself, the kind of person that I am going in for, is he or she the right person for me? Is he or she someone who will guide me to get me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Every Muslim should ask yourself this question before you make your choice. Every Muslim. So now let's ask ourselves, those who came before us, how did they make their choices? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in Surah Al-Baqarah, Quran chapter 2, verse 223, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Nisa'ukum harthun lakum fa'tu harsakum anna shi'tum. That your women, your wives, they are your children. Go into them anytime that you want. I want each and every one to look into this verse. Women are considered in this verse as a land for cultivation. And we all know, as a farmer, if you are going to cultivate, definitely you will be going in for a fertile land. Definitely. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that your wives, they are land for cultivation for you, in which you are going to sow your seed. These are your children. So what kind of mother are you going to give to your child? This is the first right of your child. This is the first right that a Muslim should give to your child. And my sisters in Islam, this is the first right that you have to give to your child, a righteous husband. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, He is encouraging us not to go out for looks, but to go for religion. That is why in Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 5019, narrated by Abu Huraira, radiyallahu anhu. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Tunkahu al-mar'a li-arba'a." That you should marry women for 4 things. One of it, you should marry a woman for it. Then he said, "Limariha." You can marry a woman because of her wealth, so that you get a portion of the wealth to enjoy. وَلِحَسَبِهَا. You can marry a woman because of her family status. Example, maybe her father is our president, or her family is a well-known family, so you want to get into that family. 3. وَجَمَالِهَا. You can marry a woman because of her beauty. And 4. وَلِدِينِهَا. You can marry a woman because of her religion. But Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam concluded by saying, "Fadfar bizati din." I encourage you to go in for the one who is religious. Tarifat yadaka. Other than that, you will be a loser. If you marry a woman because of wealth, maybe tomorrow she might not be wealthy again. If you go in because of the family, maybe you might not get what you are looking for. And if you go in because she is beautiful, maybe allegedly something can happen and she might lose her beauty. So what will you do? So that is why the Prophet encouraged that you should go in for a righteous woman. My sisters, because the Prophet was talking to men, that was why he said so. So you have to also go in for righteous men, not wealthy men. You have to make sure the one that you are going in for, he is someone who can bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to also make sure the one you are going in for, she should be someone who will always encourage you to be up and doing in your religion, to get yourself closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every Muslim, this is what you have to think about. And again, the surah that our brothers recite, the Surah An-Nur, Quran chapter 24, verse 32. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ إِنْ يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you are going in for marriage, marry those who are single among you. The men, if you are going to marry those women who are not yet married, they are single. Go in for those women. And he further says, وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ. And also, you can marry slaves, men and women who are slaves but they are righteous. So our sisters, if you are going in for marriage, make sure the one that you are going in for, whether he or he is a slave or not, the most important thing is the person should be righteous. Same thing applies to the men. When you are going in for marriage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging you. The person that you are going to pick, the most important thing is the person should be a righteous person. So Allah and the Prophet, they are encouraging us to go in for righteousness, not beauty. It is not wrong to go in for beauty, but make sure if she is beautiful, then she should be righteous. It is not wrong to go in for someone who is handsome, but make sure if he is handsome, he should be righteous. Because when we go to Surah Al-Rum, Quran chapter 30 verse 21, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it is one of the signs of Allah that He created for the men your wives. From you, that He created your wives. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something which pleases me anytime that I see that verse. وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And we have made between you, we have put between these two people, husband and wife, mawaddatan, love, wa rahmah, and affection or mercy. Here scholars of Islam are saying, if you go in for a righteous man, my sisters, at the beginning of marriage, love is at its peak. But as days goes by, it gets down. So if you go in for a righteous man, when love goes down, because he is righteous and because he knows who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and Allah will question him about you on the day of Qiyamah, he will use the mercy and take care of you. So scholars advise that if you are going in for marriage, go in for someone who knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that when the love shifts, then the affection will come in. Because of Allah, He will have mercy on you. Same thing applies to the men. If you go in for a woman who does not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are going to be in trouble. You are going to be in trouble. That is why sometimes you see boys sitting outside in the night up to 12 to 1, they cannot go home because fire is waiting for them. They did not go in for the righteous one. But if you go in for the righteous one, she will also know that she will be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how she takes care of you. So she will give you your eyes. And again, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Quran chapter 2, verse 221, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again said that you should not marry women who are adulterous, women who worship gods besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you should not marry such women. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, even if such women loves you, even if they are pleasing to you, do not marry them. And to our sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said again that you should not marry men who worship gods besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That if you do that, those who worship gods besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cause you to the hellfire. So in this verse, it is informing us that your husband or your wife can be a reason for someone to go into hellfire. May Allah protect us from that. So my brothers, my sisters in Iman, when you are going in for your life partner, your spouse, ask yourself this important question. Is the person someone who can bring me closer to my Creator? Is the person someone who can let me know much about my deen? If yes, then you go in. This is the first step. There are many verses of the glorious Quran that speaks about this. Now let's go to the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In Sahih Bukhari, Hadith number 4005, narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar. He said, when the husband of Hafsa bint Umar died, then Umar radiallahu anhu, he went to Abu Bakr and proposed that Abu Bakr should come in so that he will marry Hafsa to Abu Bakr. Then Abu Bakr was quiet. Abu Bakr didn't say anything. In the hadith, he went first to Osman ibn Affan, the third Caliph of Islam. Then, few days later, 3 days later, Osman told Umar that he would not marry now. Then he went to Abu Bakr and proposed that, I want you to marry my daughter, Hafsa. Then Abu Bakr was quiet. He did not say anything. Then few days later, the person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen above all his creation, he came in for Hafsa, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My brothers, my sisters in Iman, why was Umar asking Osman and Abu Bakr to come and marry Hafsa, his daughter? The reason being that he wants someone who is righteous to marry his daughter. He was not looking for someone who is wealthy. He was not looking for a family which is highly known, but he was looking for someone who will bring his daughter closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what are we seeing this modern generation? What we are seeing, our parents are going in for those who are capable of spending. These are the people that they are going in for. But it's wrong. You should be going in for someone who will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I want you to also see it. When Khadija, the first wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, she was very rich, a widow. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was 15 years younger than her. Then one day, this woman heard something good about the Prophet. Rich men of Mecca, they were always striving to come in for her. They always come to her with this sum of money, we want to marry you. We will give you everything as you want to serve as your bride. But Khadija said, no, I don't want to marry. Then when he heard, and when she heard about that, there is a man called Muhammad. The man is righteous. The man is good. The man has a good character. Then he called Prophet Muhammad, but then he was not a prophet, and said, I want to entrust my business into your hand so that you will help me do my business. When Prophet Muhammad came back from the trip, once he was on the trip, Khadija was having a slave who was with Prophet Muhammad. The slave was called Maisara. When they came back, Maisara told Khadija something he has never seen in his life. That any time that the Prophet says something to anyone, that ends it, no bargaining. If the thing causes once, he will say once. He will not say, maybe once you do the stress, then he will bargain. No, he will say once, and that ends it. And other things that he has seen about the Prophet. When he said this to Khadija, then Khadija developed love for the Prophet. Not because the Prophet was rich, but because the Prophet was righteous. Then Khadija proposed to the Prophet to marry her. The Prophet Muhammad also accepted Khadija, not because of her wealth, but because she was a woman who protected her chastity. She was a woman who respected herself. So because of this, the Prophet accepted to marry the Prophet Khadija. My sisters in Iman, I want to ask you, what kind of guys are you looking for? Are you not looking for the doctors, the engineers, the nurses, the teachers? These are the people that you are looking for. You don't want our types that are available. Now, so when you are going for your life partner, I am encouraging you, do not go out for looks. Go in for someone who will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a woman's story that I'll tell before we move on, I love this woman. I wish, inshallah, on the day of Qiyamah, I will set my eyes on her. Rumaysa, subhanallah. This was a woman who someone came to the richest man, came to her and said, I want to marry you. And if you agree, my house is the most beautiful house in our community, I'll give it to you free. No matter how much that you want me to pay for your bride price, I will pay it including tons of gold. Then the woman told her, hey, before you marry me, I just want you to do one thing. If you do it, I'm going to marry you. Then he said, what do you want me to do? Then the woman told him, I want you to be a Muslim. I want you to go home, destroy your idols. Whatever that you are worshiping besides Allah, destroy it and come so that I will marry you. Then the man said, okay, let me go and think about it. Then he went back. He thought about it. Then finally, because of love, he destroyed all his idols. Then he came to the lady and said, I have accepted your condition. So tell me, how much am I going to pay for my bride price? Then the woman said, just say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And that said as the bride price. Then the man said, La ilaha illallah. And they were husband and wives. My brothers and sisters in Iman, can La ilaha illallah serve as your bride price? It's not possible. So these were people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for us to imitate. So let's imitate them for the best. Let's imitate them for the best. Brothers and sisters in Iman, let's imitate these people for the best. Now, we have made our choice. We are going for the righteous one. How is the marriage ceremony is supposed to be done in Islam? In Islam, we have do's and don'ts. Islam, how it views marriage, is different from other religions and other cultures. So before you go in for marriage, ask yourself, how is it supposed to be done within the premises of Islam? Then, you ask scholars, if they answer this question, then you go by that. You go by that. That is my advice. Let's look into the Sunnah and Quran to see the guidelines that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet, they have laid down for us to follow. In Sahih Bukhari, Anas ibn Malik, he is narrating to us two incidents. And every Muslim who is going in for marriage should consider it. You have to consider these things before you do what? You go in for marriage. In Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 5085. Anas ibn Malik, he said that when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to marry Sophia bint Huwayy, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he provided during the wedding party, what the Prophet provided was date, dry yogurt and butter. Date, domino. Then they spread it on a leather sheet. And Muslims sat down and ate date and dry yogurt. This is the Prophet of Allah. This was how he did his marriage to Sophia bint Huwayy. And in that same Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 5168, narrated by Sayyid Anas ibn Malik, because he was always with the Prophet from the younger age. He said, when Prophet Muhammad was to marry Zainab, the marriage party, the wedding party was much different and better than all the other women. And what made it different was only one sheep. That he slaughtered, one sheep. The Prophet slaughtered one sheep, and that differentiates Zainab's marriage from the other marriages. My brothers and sisters in Iman, if you are going for marriage, then you bring double date. They slaughter one sheep. What will people say? Even the lady's house, they will not take it. Sisters and brothers in Iman, this is not the teachings of Islam. It is not wrong to do, but I am encouraging you, let's imitate the Prophet and make things simple. But look at what modern Muslims, as you call yourself, look at the lessons that you are passing during your marriage parties. And also, during this marriage time, we see a lot of things which are happening which is not supposed to happen in Islam. Most especially our ladies. How they dress, how they appear that day. From that day, the next day, they will look differently. They will not be like as they were yesterday. And Islam has laid down rules to protect you in this. In Surah Al-A'raf, Quran chapter 7, verse 26. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya bani Adam, قَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ لِبَاسًا يُوَارِي سَوْآتِكُمْ وَرِيشًا. Allah is saying, Ya Ibn Adam, children of Adam, I have given you clothes, dress, for you to cover your nakedness and to beautify yourself. Look at this verse. Every Muslim should go back and check Surah Al-A'raf, Quran chapter 7, verse 26. Quran chapter 7, verse 26. Allah is saying that He has provided you dresses for you to cover your nakedness, then to beautify yourself. But what do we see? Especially our sisters. They will beautify themselves without covering their nakedness. It's wrong. But in the verse, Allah stated first, you have to cover your nakedness. But during marriages, we don't see this from our ladies. We don't see that. They expose themselves anyhow, just in the name of beautification. They expose themselves. And do you know something? When you expose yourself, the curse of angels will be upon you. Allah's curse will be on you. And human beings curse trees, everything that sees you, your nakedness, their curse will be upon you. So let's ask yourself, the very day that you are going into your marital home and only the curses are upon you, what kind of children are you going to be left? What kind of children? Brothers in Iman, this is what our women are causing. What kind of women what kind of children are they going to provide for you? What? Love. And in Surah Al-Nur, Quran chapter 24, verse 31, that was the verse that our Qari recited. Allah listed a number of people who can see the nakedness of a woman, not her full nakedness, but rather her beauty, apart from her face and her palms. Those who can see her beauty, Allah listed them in that surah 12. So every one of you should go and check it. Surah Al-Nur, Quran chapter 24, verse 31. Allah said that they should not expose their beauty except to their husbands, to their fathers, their husbands' fathers, their husbands' sons, their sons, their husbands' sons, their sisters, their brothers' sons, their sisters' sons, other Muslim women, and also those whom their right hand possessed, not a slave female that they possessed during those days. Again, men who are old and they have no desire for women, and also the last, a young boy who has no desire or who does not even know what sex is about. These are the people who can see the nakedness of a woman. So imagine, during the marriage ceremony, always come out with that kind of dressing. Are these only people who are around? Are these the only people who are around? And I would like to emphasize on this thing again. Before we get into marriage, what do we do currently? Pre-wedding shots. We go in for photo shots. Then we put it on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever chance it is, we put it there. Then everyone has access to the picture of your wife. But dear brother and sister in Iman, this is the first big mistake that you have committed in Islam. Giving other people opportunity to see the nakedness of your wife is haram in Islam. It's haram. Someone might say, what is wrong about just doing a sticker because of my marriage, or a poster because of my marriage? SubhanAllah, thousands of mistakes are wrong. You are not supposed to. You are supposed to guide the woman. You are supposed to be an obstacle between the woman and Shaitan. But today, we expose them to the world. And you know that even the smile of a woman is a nakedness. Do you know that? A woman who is not your wife can smile to you, and that alone can attract you closer to the woman. But what do we see on Facebook? You see the groom and the bride together while the woman is smiling. If the guy is like that, he has never smiled. So what are we doing? It is out of Islam. It is out of Islam. So when you are going into your marriage, brothers and sisters in Iman, this is the journey. Make sure the first thing you inquire, the one that I'm going in for, is she the type who can bring me closer to my Creator? If yes, how am I going to organize the wedding within the Islamic teachings, within the Islamic premises? How am I going to organize it? Very important. Then you do it. But unfortunately, we don't see this in our marriages. We don't. And let me tell you again, do not always expect that thousands of people should come into your marriage. For what? To cause problems for you. Anyone who comes in your gathering, gathered by you, and the person commits sin, you will have a share of it because you invited the person. It is not wrong to tell people to come and witness your marriage. This is not my point. I'm not saying it is wrong. But make sure those who are coming, they will be under the guidance of Islam. If you cannot take care of this, then I advise you try to limit the number of people who are coming into your marriage. And what do you see? Food is being spoiled during our marriages. As I was saying this on one radio station, if I were to do it, I would prefer, if I'm going to provide 500 bowls of rice to people, I would prefer giving 400 to orphanage house or 400 to prisons and give 100 to the other people. And Allah will bless my marriage. I would prefer doing this. Your wife should guide you to Allah. You have to guide your wife to Allah. So do we see this in our marriages? Yeah. During marriages. Because the woman, maybe, I wouldn't use that word, but because of love for the world, what do we see? Imagine, I am married, then you as my friend, you feel comfortable to come and hug my wife and take a picture. Which verse, which hadith of Islam encourages this? It's wrong. It's wrong. Don't tell it wrong in Islam. Because initially we just start the thing well. That is how we always end it wrong. You don't have to. The guys, come closer to your friend's wife and take pictures. It is haram in Islam. After which we put it on social media. And unfortunately, someone will comment and say, nice pic. For what? What makes the picture nice? Maybe because the lady smiles. You have sent your wife to the whole world. I wouldn't do that. So all these things, modern Muslims, this is what we are doing. And that takes the barakah, the blessings of marriage away from us. Wallahi. Though the bottom line, guys, we don't see it to be anything. But it costs us a lot. Trust me. Allah is not pleased with us in this marriage. Allah is not pleased with us. So I am advising you, brothers and sisters in Iman. All these things, you have to be careful how you are doing these things. If you say you will stop taking the pictures, then don't let someone come closer to your wife and take the picture. Do it alone. And after doing it alone, don't put it on Facebook. Don't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, we should be protecting our wives. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُمْ. You are garments to your wives and they are garments to you. And what is the purpose of a garment? Protection, comfort has to come in. So if you are supposed to protect the woman and you are exposing the woman, if you are supposed to protect the man and you are exposing the man, what are we doing? What are we doing, brothers and sisters? So in Islam we do have modern marriage. Marriage in Islam should be done as it was done by the Prophet and his companions and those who came before the Prophet. We don't have modern Islamic marriage. We don't have modern Islam. We don't have modern marriage, Islamic marriage. Islam, everybody should take this. Islam is up to date, so we don't need to update Islam. Islam is up to date, so we don't need to update it. So if you do anything outside the teachings of Islam, it will go against you. Surely it will. And the last that I would like to talk and get down, most especially our sisters. When someone who is married is coming in for you, it is not haram in Islam to say, I want to marry someone who is not yet married. It's not married. It's not haram. It's alright. You should marry those who are assembled among you. Allah has given you the chance. But when someone who is already married comes in for you, do not just stand firm because he's married, though he is righteous, I don't want him. And someone who is not righteous but pulls down his trap, then maybe he calls himself beggar. Meanwhile, he's a villager. Then you are comfortable with certain people. They will take you out of your religion. Listen to this. Aisha radiallahu anha. Aisha, she alone narrated not less than 2,000 hadiths in Islam. Some scholars said it is 2,222. Now, what I want you to know, Aisha was not the first wife. She was not the second wife of the Prophet. She was the third wife of the Prophet. But look at her status in Islam. Look at her status in Islam. So it does not matter whether you are first or not. What matters is how you are going to take care of your husband because of Allah, or who you are going in for. This is what matters. Hajar, the mother of Ismail alayhi salam. Hajar was not the first wife of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. She was the second wife. But her generation is the best of generations. Should Hajar said, I don't want an old man who was more than 80 years? Should Hajar say, no, I will not marry such a man? What would have happened? And the generation in which our Prophet came from, Prophet Ismail's generation, the woman who gave birth to that generation was not the first wife of Prophet Ismail, she was the second wife. So it does not matter whether you are first or third or last, it doesn't matter. What matters is the man should be righteous. Kulsum, one of the wives of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the daughter of Fatima bint Muhammad Rasulullah. She was not the first wife of Umar, neither was she the second, neither was she the third. But her generation is also considered as a pious generation. So brothers and sisters, this is the little advice that I have for you. Do not always go in for looks at the beginning. Go in for righteousness. Make sure the marriage is done within the Islamic teachings, within the Islamic premises. you make sure it is done in that. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless the marriage and righteous children will come out of it. And remember, you are the first teacher of your children. Your husband is the first teacher and your wife is the first teacher of your child. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Alhamdulillah, Atakbir. We really thank our father, our sheikh, our mentor for that powerful speech he has given us. We then go for questions from brothers and sisters, 2 from the brothers and 2 from the sisters. So if you have any question to ask, you can do so.
So my father wants to give me a girl to me to marry. And I don't love the girl, neither does the girl have the tea. So what should I do?
This is a very good question.
Please let's be silent, please.
In Islam, you don't force a man to marry a woman he does not like. Neither do you force a woman to marry a man she does not like. That same incident happened during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad. A woman came to the Prophet and complained that her father forced her to marry a man she doesn't like. Then the Prophet said, if that marriage was done against her will, it is invalid in Islam. So the marriage was invalid. And also, Barira, when she decided to leave her first husband, and the husband still loves her, then the man was crying to the Prophet. Then Prophet Muhammad told Barira, go back to your husband. Then Barira asked the Prophet, are you commanding me to go and marry the man? Then the Prophet said, no, I am only saying that if you want to do it, you go to go. So the Prophet himself didn't say you must marry the man. So it is not accepted in Islam for you to compel someone to marry a woman against his or her will. But also remember that your parents, as Umar did, they can guide you to choose the right person for yourself. So they are only guiding you, but they are not making final decision for you. I hope that answered your question.
During the ceremony, you mentioned wealth, families with beauty and religion. And you said the best among all of it is the religion. And my question now is, what should we now look out for in marriage? Since both men and women of today no longer practice and uphold the principles and teachings of Islam as we supposed to. And the second one is about the stickers for weddings. I happen to be a designer for those, and I've been through with some of what I do. But my question now is it good or not just good for it to be done, or if it is going to be done, the woman should be decently dressed, or it is not just good at all?
If you said today both sex, we don't have people who are actually practicing that religion. In fact, we cannot make it a conclusive point that all of us are not practicing. There are some who still practice. One scholar that I asked about this, then he said, one thing that we can know is, maybe to our sisters, you want to marry this man. Then what you are going to do, go to where he stays. Ask people. Example, my daughter. If someone is coming to marry my daughter in the near future, where she goes, if someone is coming to marry her, I will not just agree that. I will have to send someone to where the person stays. For people to know, tell me, when that person becomes angry, how does he control himself? Very important. If he says no in the community, are there people who can say please and he listen to them? How does the person relate to the parents? Then I will now come, if there is a mosque closer to that person, I will now inquire from the imam of that mosque, how is the person attendance in the mosque? Is he someone who always comes at the right time in the mosque? Does he always find himself in the first row or not? Very important. If the person comes to me, then I will now ask him intentionally. The first visit to me, after making my inquiry, then I will tell him to meet me. After making my inquiry, when he comes, my first question to him is, what time is Fajr? If he is able to tell you the right time of Fajr, wallah, he is a righteous Muslim. But if he does not know, only that they know they pray Fajr 5, it's not 5, it 2 changes. He cannot answer this question. So you have to look out for all these things. And their same thing applies to our sisters. You inquire, the first thing, though that one is not justifiable, how she dressed, but important, how she presents herself. And also, how she acts when she is with you before the marriage. How does she act? Is she the type who shines? Because of the time factor, I skip all these things. Look at how, just give me that time to explain that. Look at how Moses got married to his first wife. The woman, when Moses helped them to give water to their animals, then they went back and told their father about this. Then the father said they should go and call that man. When they came and called, when the lady came and informed Moses that my father is calling you, when they were going, initially, the lady was in front of Moses. Then wind blew. Then something happened. If I say something, you all do. Then maybe Moses saw something which is not supposed to. Then Moses told the lady that, go behind me. If you want me to turn right, just throw a pebble to that direction, I will turn. If you want me to go left, throw a pebble to that. Then the lady did that. When they reached the father, then that lady told the father, yeah, Abati, oh my father, hide this person. He is strong and he is righteous. He fears Allah, he is trustworthy. How did the lady got to know that Moses is strong and Moses fears Allah? One, Moses was the only one who picked up the stone for them to fetch the water. And the reason why she got to know that Moses feared Allah was when Moses told her to go behind her, a Hebrew brother, so that they could give him direction. This lady realized that this is a righteous person. If my father is not around, she will not harm us, and he will not harm us. And when the father heard this, then the father said, then this person must marry my daughter. So instead of the father saying, I want to hire you, the father rather said, I want to marry one of my daughters to you. You understand? So the father did the marriage based on what? Righteousness. And what was the bride price? Moses has to take care of Anna for 8 years. If you're in your tell you that we don't agree. I hope that answers your question. Now your second question, the stickers. The stickers, it is not haram to do it, but you can do it within the Islamic Sharia. Example, you can put only the man in the thing, in the sticker. Or, better still, you take both of them out. Maybe the woman might complain, why should he be and I will not be in? So you take all of them out. But if the woman will not have a problem, just put only the man in. Or just get a nice design and put it there with the names in every direction to that places. I think that one is okay.
Okay, we now go to our ladies for their questions.
Father's presentation, he made mention of like, if you are married, you and your husband, you have to spend time together. Okay, you know, these days, the men, they have a problem. They don't sit in the house. Let's say he doesn't stay in the house and I want to have time with him. Sometimes you want to even, like you are the one that you don't even know much about the religion. All you want is he should just sit in the house, take you through some things. But he's the type who doesn't sit in the house. So what would you do in order like, so that he will sit in the house or maybe
Please, brothers and sisters in Iman, let us be silent and listen to them.
My sister, this is a very good question and many people are facing it. It's a challenge. Now, under normal circumstances in the teachings of Islam, a man is supposed to have time for the wife. You are supposed let's serious. You are supposed to sometimes, they say sweet words. Outside marriage, we call each other darling. My dear, my heart, my everything. This is supposed to be done inside marriage. So under normal circumstances, the man is supposed to always be with the woman to comfort her. And the woman is also supposed to be around to comfort the woman and the man. So my sister, my advice is, what does your husband like most? You ask yourself this question. Then if you are able to figure out what he likes most, then you try as much as you can to always get yourself into that. Secondly, try praying to asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide your husband. Not that he does not love you, we cannot say that God, if he doesn't love you, he wouldn't have married. But ask Allah to increase your love in the man's heart. And ask scholars to know how righteous women were to their husbands. When Prophet Muhammad go out, he always want to come back because of Khadija. And whenever something bad happened to him, he always want to go to Khadija because immediately he gets to Khadija, he will get peace. So every woman should be that to her husband. And also, what I will advise you is, Islam said you should not wear bare bags, breast out, whatever it is, that you should not wear it. But in your house, you can wear them. When your husband is sitting, maybe he's sitting, just get something small, very tight. Intentional, as if you are going to the kitchen, maybe we are not going to when you are going to serve food to your husband, don't wear the big veils. This one. When you are serving your husband food, don't wear this one. Make sure you wear something light so that when you bend,
Sometimes our fathers did beat our mothers in the house. Our fathers did beat our mothers in the house. Is it good for your father to beat your mother when the children are present in the house?
Even when they are not present, it is haram in Islam to beat your wife. So in Islam, a man does not beat a woman. The Prophet said, do not beat your woman and also have not love with them. The Prophet said, you don't have to do that. So in Islam, it is totally wrong to beat your wife. So that was why I said, if you go in for someone who is righteous, when you do something wrong, the person will know that in Islam I am not supposed to beat my wife. The Prophet has never laid his hand on any of his wife. Even including my role model Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab, who was very tough, but when the wives were speaking to him, he was surprised. They were shouting. Even the Prophet himself, Aisha radiallahu anha, one day, a wife of the Prophet served the Prophet food. Then Aisha became jealous. Then he intentionally, she just used her hand and pushed the food down. What did the Prophet? The Prophet gathered the food and picked one into the mouth of Aisha and she took it. So if your husband is someone who imitates the Prophet, he will never beat you. So try as much as you can to get said people as your husbands, inshallah, and that one will help you in your marriage. That's at which age should a woman get married in Islam? Now, there is no specified age in Islam at which a woman or a man should get into marriage. The Prophet advised the men, whoever amongst you knows that you can take care of a woman should marry. And to the ladies, when you become adult, it is not compulsory that you should marry. But if you are the type who cannot control your sexual desire, I advise you to go in for marriage. Whether you are a student or not, Islam does not say you shouldn't be educated. You can go to school to the higher level. There's nothing wrong with that in Islam. But if you know that you cannot control yourself in terms of that, I advise you to get a man who can assist you to complete your education, or to go to the extent that you want your education to, then you marry that man so that he will help you to continue your education. But if you say, I am still a student, then you are doing things which a student is not supposed to do. You know you are cheating yourself, and you are cheating your future husband, and Allah will not forgive you for that. So my sisters, I advise you, there is no specified age at which you are supposed to marry. But if you know you cannot take care of yourself, all the females here, you are up to that age. So if you know you cannot take care of yourself, just ask Allah to get you a righteous man so that you go in for him, and Allah will bless your life for you. Wa ta'ala alhamdulillah.
Brothers and sisters, due to the time factor, I will just go to the men and take one question from them.
That is the month just before Ramadan. And we all know that during the immediate time of marriage, love is at its apex, as you rightfully indicate in your lecture. So when love is at its apex and you are married in the month of Shaban, don't you think the feelings that you are having for the woman will interfere during the Ramadan? And for that in the way that the marriage.
You know, it is not that it is stated in Islam that you have to marry in that month. It is not stated in Islam. It is your own choice, and it is not wrong to also marry in that. Maybe the person wants someone to help him have a nice Ramadan. That is why he chooses that month. So, and that one, it cannot interfere in your life. I think it will even increase it. Because you have never fasted with a woman. Then, maybe your mother used to wake you up. Then today, someone wake you up, and when you rise, it's not your mother, it's your wife. You feel happy. So I think it will rather increase the love, it will not decrease the love. I hope that answers the question. I want to beg and listen to these two sisters for the last time, because they have raised their hand for now.
My question is, what if you are a professional doctor?
Doctor?
Yes. And somebody say, and let's say that person, let's say you are a male, and that ground killing is a female. And you know that this one final out is dying. And in Islam too, you must not do that. Like, see the nakedness of your opposite sex. What will you do?
So in the health sector, your Ghana is not an Islamic country. So Islam gives us the rule to do it. If you are a doctor, then nobody says comes to you. You cannot say, I will not save your life because Islam says I shouldn't see your leg. No. Islam, sometimes some of the rules, it breaks it. Considering other rules, you can break that rule. So if you are a doctor, as you are a lady, you are a doctor, and someone walks in, or they got someone in, and the person is a male, you have to save that life. It's very, very important. If you say, I'm a female, I will not work in the person that you must be held responsible. Allah will not forgive you for that. Someone like me, back when I'm in the workplace, then a patient comes. If there are female nurses around, and the patient is a female, I will let them attend to him, to her. But if it's a male, then I'm around, I will also attend to him. Though it is not the protocol of the facility, I am doing it. But if it is that those who are around, they can't do, or they will not do, or they are busy, then I will continue, I will do it. for the person. There's nothing wrong with that. I hope that answered your question. Yes, we have the same question. Okay.